he's back and he's firing in all cylinders.
My blood pressure's up, apparently.
Alongside Simon Jordan, of course, is Eddie Hearn. The two of them have locked horns in the past, and they're doing it once again this morning. And this all comes on the back, of course, of Dillian Whyte showing adverse analytical findings prior to the fight that was going to happen this Saturday with AJ at the O2 here in London. He's been pulled, and in comes Robert Helenius. And then we'll see what happens at the O2. But we've gone back a bit in time as well, because these two have a habit of arguing, picking each other up on aspects of what has happened regards other fights and controversies regarding other fights, such as Conor Benn at one stage being pulled from fighting Eubank Jr. The fight did not go ahead. Just to be clear on that, at the end of July, UKAD announced that they have lifted Conor Benn's provisional suspension for a failed drugs test last year after he was cleared by the independent National Anti-Doping Panel. So Conor Benn says he's free to fight in the UK again. And Eddie, before you go today, you might be able to tell us when that will be. But here's the thing, Simon.
Was he cleared, Eddie? Do you think he was cleared?
His suspension was lifted and he's
But
cleared.
do you think he was cleared because you said he was?
Yes, I believe he
cleared
is.
on what basis? Jurisdiction
or
the fact that he's accounted for the
basis
because you believe in strict liability, yes?
Yeah, on the basis
which he hasn't faced.
Hold on.
Right, hang on.
Hold on. If you are not fined, if you are not found guilty, if your suspension is lifted, if you are cleared to fight by UKAD, which you are, which he is, that cannot be disputed.
But who has the overriding control over this process?
UKAD.
British Boxing Board of Control.
No. Read the rules. British Boxing Board of Control. Hold on. British Boxing Board of Control follow UKAD's procedures. Now hold on. Let me finish.
And they can also follow any other recognised laboratory, right? And UKAD have been excluded on the back of the WBC clean boxing program. Has his B samples been submitted?
Yes, that process. Right. This has all been submitted in.
So do you consider him to be cleared?
His suspension.
But do you consider him to be cleared?
Yes,
right,
he is cleared.
So given the fact you believe in strict liability,
hold on,
and he hasn't gone through strict liability. So now you're contradicting your argument.
Simon, I'm not. I'm just saying. You asked him to go through a process.
No.
Let me finish.
No, we didn't. Nobody did.
Everybody did.
Nobody did.
No, hold on.
They said, as a licence holder, he must face the board, didn't they?
Everybody said, okay, he's gone through the WBC.
As a licence holder, he should.
It's like, there's no point even talking. You're not going to let me speak.
Okay.
He went through the WBC process. We know he was reinstated into the rankings. Okay. You say he was cleared on it or whatever he was. But
I'm asking you.
Yes, no, he was. Then everyone said he has to go through the board's rules and regulations. And we said we want Conor Benn to be licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control. Let me just finish, okay? So then he made the decision to go through. UKAD suspended him, okay? Conor Benn made the decision to fight it, to go through the situation, to go through the hearing, and to do what everybody was asking him to do.
Right.
He went through that process. His suspension was lifted.
Correct.
And they did not ban him or suspend him. And in that respect, he is clear to fight by the UK anti-doping.
Eddie, Simon's point is this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Simon. You talked, Eddie, about giving Conor Benn great support when this whole thing blew up in his face, and the boy was shattered, as Dillian Whyte is shattered. But Simon's allegation, and again, correct me, Simon, if I'm out of line here, is that you didn't really come up to the proper level of support you purported to give Ben wasn't evident. Had it been so, you would have steered him away from some of the things that he did and he said.
It's slightly more succinct
but
than
I would
that.
say this, Jim, in answer to your question. I'm not Conor Benn's manager, okay? He did a lot of things off his own back. He was extremely emotional. I never gave him advice on PR because he had his own PR ideas. I never gave him legal advice because he had his own lawyers. But what I did was publicly, which by the way...
Support him.
By the way, I mean, I've had, I'm not bothered. I've had a year of stick on it where I could have said, mate, you're on your own. You've got to go through this process. Every day publicly, I've backed Conor Benn.
Shall I tell you why in part you got a stick, Eddie?
1 second. Because I believed the kid. And I wasn't prepared to hang him out to dry.
And that's fine. And let's take that point at face value. You then spent time running around calling the British Boxing Board of Control liars. You then spending time telling everyone had an agenda. You then spent time trying to make fights with a fighter that's in bad standing against fighters that are in good standing and creating that culture of a scenario where people are looking at your behaviour. What's happened with Conor Benn is, metaphorically speaking, what Morgan has done for Conor Benn is similar to what Johnny Cochran did for O.J. Simpson. He got him off on a technicality. He hasn't been exonerated, and I want him to be exonerated. I want him to take. Hang on, let me finish. I want the guys that came in the studio last time round with this clinical evidence that proves clinically that Conor Benn couldn't have taken this drug into his system through can only have come in through a food chain. I want that argument to be run. That argument hasn't been run. The only argument that's been run, and it was run by his lawyers and UKAD's lawyers, and the board's lawyers sat there as mutes, was the argument around jurisdiction. That is
said he won the case
that
around
is not
jurisdiction.
clearing
It's not
himself,
actually true.
and that is not following your logic of believing in strict liability.
No, but
Now, talking about drug testing, Eddie, what's this situation going on with this drug-free sport, where there's this conversation going on, and I hear that you are involved with drug-free sport, and that matchroom fighters are going to be tested by drug-free sport, and the results are going to be provided to matchroom, and matchroom are going to be the adjudicator of those.
absolute
rubbish.
Absolute rubbish. Drug-free sport is a credible testing
they are.
agency.
But
I think they work with the NFL.
Is there any truth in the allegation that your fighters are being tested by them, and that the results come back to you, and that you are the adjudicator of the positive tests? Categorically.
Absolute rubbish.
Has there been any fights where this has happened so far?
Drug-free testing have tested our athletes before.
Right.
Absolutely.
Recently?
And, not, I think, in the last, 3-6 months. But we do use drug-free sport, as do the NBA, I think the NFL or NHL, wherever it is.
Nothing wrong with them,
No.
but the fact that you, as matchroom,
absolutely.
get the results.
Just to put your mind at rest,
All right.
Simon, before anyone thinks that might be factual.
You've denied it
Absolute rubbish.
absolutely.
We would never
Eddie, here's the deal.
adjudicate
I would like to
over-
think-
over science.
Conor Benn.